is that I see a lot of people, I guess, a lot of challenges when it comes to the application. My name is Ahmed ElNaggar, and this is Monday Legal.
So tell me a little bit about Abu Dhabi's regulations in terms of real estate brokerage and how the market is supposed to be run there.
Yeah, so they also require licensing, and they actually still have to do the course. So unlike Dubai, when they closed the Real Estate Institute in 2020, they actually said, okay, course is not mandatory anymore. You can take it if you want to, but you obviously still have to pass the exam. When Abu Dhabi, they actually have to take it not only the first time when they're taking the exam and getting the license, but every year when they go to renew, they've got to take the course again. So it's a little bit stricter in terms of the licensing. But yeah, it's in terms of the code of ethics and things like that, they're actually pretty on par with Dubai.
Okay.
And they now have an Abu Dhabi real estate center, ADREC. So it's an offshoot of the municipality, because municipality used to handle everything.
Yeah.
And now they're handling everything related to real estate. So that just basically was established in November of 2023. And their offices, I mean, you go to them now, you can still smell the fresh paint. So it's very brand new. So they're taking over everything.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, and I think it was even during COVID time, we were selling some properties in some of the islands in Abu Dhabi, and we had to go to the Abu Dhabi municipality, and they had the planning department. They were issuing the title deeds at that time, and there was a lot of problems because a year before that, 2019, Abu Dhabi have changed the fee from 1,000 dirham for property transactions into 2% of the deal. And there's so many people taking advantage of that, convincing their clients that it's not 2, it is even going to be 4, charging even extra. At the time, there was only 1,000 dirham for real estate transactions. How strict and how regulated is Abu Dhabi, since you're saying this is just recently established? Have you seen a lot of transactions happening there? Have you seen a lot of brokerage firms opening branches and educating their staff to building brokerage offices in Abu Dhabi? Because Abu Dhabi also, the market is booming there.
Yeah, so there were already a lot of companies in Abu Dhabi itself that focus on Abu Dhabi, but a lot of the Dubai, the bigger brokerages, are opening offices there if they don't already have them. And actually, as far as regulation, again, because ADREC is so new, they are just starting to really regulate in terms of penalties, for example, against the brokers. So they announced a couple of months ago that they penalized the brokers for cold calling, for example. And so they're really starting to pick up and catch up in terms of penalizing the brokers and getting them a little bit more under control.
I'm going to take you up on that comment, because really cold calling is one of the biggest issues here.
Yes.
We are receiving a tremendous amount of calls. Everybody I know, whoever inquired about a property, not necessarily they own one, but those who own properties, those who are registered even as power of attorneys, who are dealing in property transactions, are getting ridiculous amount of phone calls. TRA have put some regulations, RERA put some regulations, but the problem is not solved.
Well, what's happening right now is actually, even myself in the last couple of weeks, I've now gotten a bunch of WhatsApps from either Pakistan or India or outside of the UAE, and they're talking to me about projects and companies and things like that. So now they're outsourcing it, basically thinking that, okay, we could still do it, just not within the UAE. So it's still
they are getting smart about the violations. So let's go out of the country and violate from there.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's what's happening.
I just wonder, because I honestly am not a real estate transactions expert. It's like I never did brokerage in my life, and I don't know how does that work. I just cannot imagine that it works. Cold calls are one of the most annoying things that any investor could get, but does it really work?
Yeah, the amazing thing is, you would think that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be annoyed by you, but actually they say that the average, if you make 100 calls, you might get 2 listings out of it. So for them, that's a win. It's a high return on investment for them. So they still think it's something that they should be doing. And some brokerages are actually forcing their brokers to make calls. Here are the databases, go and make the call.
Aside from the regulatory work that you have dealt with, have you been interacting with the public? Like, for example, the time that you have worked with the Byland department, were there any problems pre-Form F that fall onto your desk because of the old MOUs, that any interaction with the public that ever came and or any example of problematic situations that happened before implementing the digital signing of a standard sale and purchase agreement for real estate transactions?
Well, I didn't really, so they didn't come to me. I wasn't the legal counsel, or
Right.
the legal department of the land department. So they wouldn't come to me for those types of things. But there were a lot. So talking to the legal counsels in the land department, they did say that before Form F, there were a lot more complaints. They would have people come in a lot more often to talk to them about the MOUs, and that they weren't fair, and that these terms weren't correct, and wasn't what they had agreed to, etc. So they knew that they had to put something standard in place.
One of the big problems that I see with even Form F that is existing right now is that the terms of it, when it comes to a mortgage buyer or a cash buyer, is not very clear. And very often I get contacted by investors who are selling their properties and saying, we've been promised by the broker or by the firm or by the buyer himself that he's a cash buyer and the money is there. And then I realized that I signed a form, of course, without asking a lawyer, that says that they will wait 30 days and they might wait another 30 days. And this contract is subject to mortgage approval. And so their property is kind of locked.
Exactly.
With a price for 60 days. And the market is hot.
Exactly.
And they're receiving offers and offers
They can't take.
that they can't take. Do you see that further enhancement or further development of Form F is necessary?
Yes, but actually they just changed that in the last week or so. So
yeah?
they're now allowing you to put in, it's not a standard 30 days extension anymore.
Okay.
They're allowing you to put any number you want in it. So they are making improvements to it.
What exactly made you decide to leave the government sector and move into the private sector and specifically into conveyancing?
So it was actually, I mean, I had such a fun time at that job. To be honest, I thought this is the perfect role for me because when I was little, I wanted to be a teacher. So I was doing the trainings and then, of course, using my legal background and then also real estate because I also have a real estate background. So it was like the perfect mix for me. But also, I knew there was no real path for me there. So everybody had their own career path. So when they opened up their profiles as an employee, and then I opened up mine and it was just blank. And I went to talk to HR, like, what's happening here? And, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, listen, there's not much further that you can go here. So I said, okay, probably need to look into the private sector. But I still came back as a consultant to teach the courses after that. So I was still connected to them, yes.
I would like to argue with you, why do we need conveyancing? Because that's what you do today. I honestly, in many deals that I do personally for myself, I feel like, guys, I know everything. I really know everything. And I have my administration team in my office. I can prepare the documents that I need. I know the rules. I'm going to just apply them. I don't want to pay for conveyancing. So please argue with me. Why is conveyancing so necessary?
So you need a neutral third party to take a look at everything and make sure all of the steps are completed, right? So taking a look at Form F, whatever was already there, and perhaps if needed, then creating an addendum for it. And then also to do the ownership verification and making sure there are no blocks on the property. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And it's super easy to do on the Dubai Rest app.
Yeah.
So you go onto the Dubai Rest app, which is the official app of the land department, and you can go to property status. You put in the details of the title deed. So you do need the title deed. And it will show you if there's a block from land departments, if there's a block from the rental dispute center, which might mean a case, but it's probably actually about unpaid service charges because rental dispute center now has that jurisdiction.
Yes.
And then you can also see if there's a Dubai courts block, which I'll tell you a story. So I always get approached by actually people on social media asking me mostly landlord-tenant questions, but once in a while it's about a sale or a purchase. And so this guy asked me on LinkedIn, can I call you? I said, sure. And so he called and he said, look, I was purchasing a property and I signed the final offer letter for the mortgage on it. I even paid the unpaid service charges of the seller because he didn't have money, paid 21,000 dirhams for him.
Very common.
And I was about to go to transfer and the registration trustee says, we can't transfer. There's a Dubai courts block. Now, had there been somebody to look at whether or not there's a block, this might have been prevented before he signed a final offer letter for the mortgage, before he paid off the seller's service charges, right? So now he's saying, I'm going to bring a lawsuit, but as we both know, it's a very long process and very expensive.
Yes.
So that could have been avoided.
But does it really show what is the reason of the block on the Dubai Rest app, or it just shows what is the block and then we have to go and inquire from the seller, for example?
Yeah, so it would show you, for example, so it'll say Dubai is, if there's a block, it says Dubai Land Department. Now, I'm going to assume, and it says talk to the authorities. You have to approach the authorities to ask. So I assume with Dubai Land Department, it's for example, golden visa, because they block the property, and then you have to unblock it to sell it, right? Again, it says rental dispute center, but it won't tell you what. So it's either a case or service charges.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Dubai courts, it will give you the actual case number.
Right.
So you have that much, but of course it doesn't talk about the case or the parties to the case, etc. But you do know that there's something there. So you do have to talk to the seller then to get further information.
So that is one of the parts that the conveyancing do. And it's actually a very significant part of the due diligence on the transaction itself. Again, I'm a lawyer. I know how to do it. Or I've been watching Monday Legal, the amazing podcast that teach you everything. And I learned about this, and I am able to go to the Dubai Rest app and find out about this myself. And I checked it. My property is okay. And then my real estate brokerage firm is forcing me to go through their conveyancing partner. What else, or what is other services that makes my life easy that the conveyancing do, and I might have been like overlooking that?
Yeah, so pretty much every step of the process. So if there are mortgages involved, so for example, if there's an existing mortgage on the property, then we liaise with the seller's bank to make sure that that gets released. If the buyer is getting a mortgage, then we liaise with their bank to make sure that they get the final offer letter. So there's that aspect of it. The NOCs, now, of course, they're saying that NOCs are not required anymore. You can get an ENOC, and it's only if it's off plan or the service charges have not been approved by RERA yet. But what we're actually seeing is that we're still being asked for them, whether it's registration trustees are a little bit better about it now, but even the banks with mortgages, they will refuse. They say, we will not issue a final offer letter unless we get an NOC. So they're going to have to be...
Because they did not yet update their checklist.
Correct.
That's all.
So, yes.
So it's not in the regulation. Dubai Land Department do not require it. But the stakeholders in the industry are not updated.
Exactly.
Or just did not change their phones.
Exactly. So they're still asking for it, and they're still saying we're not going to release the FOL until we get it. So
yeah, it's a pity that sometimes the timely nature of the transaction will force you to do things that you know is not necessary, or you know it's not applicable anymore, or you don't need it. But just because the bank
They haven't caught up.
The lender is not updated.
But the banks, to be honest anyway, are they're holding back the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Because they're very behind, and they're very slow to, I mean, we could digitize this whole process, the transfer process, but I think if that happens, it's going to have to be done in phases, with the mortgage transactions being less, because it's just going to take them quite some time to come up to speed.
To be very honest, the amount of people involved, if we're talking about mortgage transaction, so buying a real estate through a mortgage, the amount of people in the middle is so much, and the process is so long, and it is really strange because everything is a set template.
It's very painful.
The credit rating is a template, and it's clear and it's accessible. The mortgage calculations you can do online, and it's digital and it's easy. The credit score is a very significant tool, and it shows the indication very quickly. Even comparison of mortgage rates between banks, there are tools that do this immediately on a real time, and it's very, why does it take 1 month for a real estate mortgage to be approved?
Exactly.
And why the 4 or 5 people or stakeholders in the industry are involved just to get one approval from a bank to take it. Is there any adjustment or any development that you see in this field that can enhance it? Do you want to see more digitization into the mortgage approval?
I mean, in general, the banks can become much more digitized.
Yeah.
In the UAE. They really need to work on it. That's the most I could say, is that the processes, like you said, and it's not just for mortgages, for anything, even opening a bank account as a company, for example, right? It's just, it takes a long time. There are a lot of approvals that are needed, and documentation and things like that.
What advice you give to anybody who want to start a career in real estate? What should they learn? Where should they go? How to start?
They definitely should be taking the courses, even if it's not required at the moment. Take the course, learn as much as you can. Yes, it's only 3-4 days, but at least you're getting something. Find a company that also will give you in-house training. It's not just those few days and then that's it, and then you're left on your own, and just swim with the sharks and see what happens.
See how it works.
Yeah, so do that, and then take this. It's not a job, it's a profession. And what you're doing is actually affecting people's lives. Whether they're doing it as an investment or whether they're going to live in that property, this is a big decision for them, and it's a lot of money for them. And so take pride in what you're doing and become as professional as you can. And then go out into the world and help people.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
you very much for all the advices and the valuable information you're giving us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. And this is your dose from Monday Legal. See you next week.